This is a short little video just to show you how you can replace your laptop screen if you have a damaged one. On this case, it's an Acer Aspire one. The model is 532h-2326. And so this short video shows how I replaced my screen when I had a damaged one. So let's get started. You can see I've got my tools laid out here. I've got a screwdriver, a pocket knife, flashlight, and the new screen to replace. And the first thing you want to do is to take out the battery, unplug any power cable that you might have plugged in. So here I'll get my battery out. So there's no power whatsoever at the device at this point. And the first thing that I need to do here is to identify where the screws are. So there's two screws on the front of the bezel, but they're hiding underneath these little covers. So the pocket knife, I can pry out this little cover and put it aside because we'll need it when we put it back in at the end. So there's one on each side in this model. So with the pocket knife, there you can see I'm digging out the little cover and putting it aside. Now with the screwdriver we can take out the little screws, and magnetic screwdriver does help to get those screws out. I didn't have a magnetic screwdriver here, so I did use a magnet to try to magnetize my tip a little bit. It did help a little bit, but it would be much more useful to have a magnetic screwdriver to grab those screws. So here I am saving those screws. We'll be putting those back in at the end. With the screws out now, the bezel can come off. So you start on the side and you can pop it out on the side, working your way around. You can see it popping out on the side and the top, and then over the hinge covers here be the last thing. A little bit of wiggle and bezel will pop off. Now, next, on the side of the screen, there'll be two screws on each side. So we'll take those. You'll see two little black screws on each side of the screen. Once you identify those, you'll take those screws out. Two on this side, and an identical two screws as I turn to the other side, and we take those out. With the screws out, now the screen's ready to wiggle its way out. Lift up gently. There's cords underneath. If there's this taped to the back, you can gently keep that wire free so it's detached from the back of the screen. And you can see the connector there where the wire and the connector comes into the back of the screen. Now there's tape that's overlaid usually, at least in my case there was. So take that tape off. I'll put it aside and be able to reuse it at the end. It's just to help keep the connector nice and secure, so it's in there and it won't come off. So there's the connector, the wire, and the connector to the back of the screen. A little bit more tape just to loosen it up, and gently as you can get that connector to come off. And we'll reuse that tape. Again, there's some tape on the connector. Just be able to reuse that as we attach the new screen. Now that's the old screen, and don't need that anymore. That's the broken one. Get it out of there. And here is the new screen from laptopscreen.com. And we'll get it aligned. It's got the front protective cover, so I'll go ahead and lay it down on my keyboard. And with the connector, again, you'll see how it slides right back into that same slot. So gently you find the alignment and you'll feel it snap in. And then the tape that was still on the connector, you can just gently reapply it. And I had the other tape that I took off. So go grab that tape and bring it back over. And put that tape back on, just to make sure you got a nice secure connection that won't disconnect easily. Alright, so we're back all connected again, and we'll be able then to lift the screen back up into the frame. Dropping it in there, you can see the rails on the side that it fits snugly inside the rails. And then again, in reverse order, putting those screws back in, the two screws that are on each side of the screen, just getting those screws back in so your screen is reattached. And a couple screws, again, same thing on the opposite side. Next, the protective screen cover. Take the tape off. Lift up the cover, get it out of there. Get the tape off. And we're ready for the next part. So here's our bezel again. But before I do that, make sure all those, any wires down in that channel are nice and tucked in. And the bezel again, the hinge covers, good to snap those in first. Then you might head to the top, snap the top in, head down the sides. And you want to make sure that you got it nice and snug all the way around. So what you may want to do is go ahead and close it up. And from the back, actually where the battery is, you can see you have access to close that up, push down, give that pressure on the back. Make sure it's nice and snug all the way around. So it's snapped into place. Now we need to replace the screws next. So find your screws. Get your screwdriver all ready, and we'll get those two screws back in to attach the bezel. Just about done here. Getting close to the finish line. Get that screw in. Ditto, same screw on the other side. And then the little covers that just hide the screws, they have a sticky side, just put them back in, give it a little press, and that will cover up your screws. Now everything back together, pop that battery in again, which I did there. Power cable, get that in. Open up the cover, and we're ready to power it up. And the anxious moment where you wait for the positive ID. There, we got it. So a successful replacement of the screen, and quite simple. Didn't take that long at all, and it was a very reasonable price. Came right away, and it was certainly worth fixing, having that fixed instead of having somebody else do it. It was a very easy repair. So there you have it. Very easy Acer Aspire 1 screen replacement. I appreciate you taking the time to watch, and I hope that you have as much success with your replacement.